Bring the February 9th, 2015 public meeting of the Fayette County Area Planning Commission order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brenda, would you take attendance, please?
Yes. Ed Harrell. Brian Jennings.
Here.
Warren Sudoff. Mark Flum.
Here.
Gabe Nobby. Leota King. Here. Carl Hilton.
Here.
Dick O'Neill.
Here.
And Jason Waterman.
Here.
We have 2 missing, but we still have a quorum.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes of the January 12th, 2015 APC meeting. Any questions? Yes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, minutes are approved. Up next is a public hearing for the zoning map amendment from agriculture A2 to general business of the Connersville 40 and 8, 4460 Waterloo Road. The hearing is now open.
Good evening. Well, as you know, we were here last month petitioning, wanting to have our properties rezoned from agriculture A2 to light industrial. And at that time, the board kind of saw fit and said that they thought that a general business would be better fit. It would fit better. Mr. Baker researched some stuff and said it would be probably more feasible to zone it general business or GB. So that's what we're here tonight for, asking that you would rezone it from agriculture A2 to general business GB.
Okay. This time, any members of area planning board or members of the public have questions or concerns?
You know, why do we want to rezone it?
Well, Harold, or Carl, to tell you truthfully, we no longer consider it feasible to operate it as a 40 and 8 clubhouse. Matter of fact, we can't afford it, and we're just down to, I think the last meeting, Dave, our membership chairman, said that we were down to 25 members, and we just can't operate it and upkeep and stuff on it with 25 members. So we have got an offer to sell it, and in order to sell it, we need to get it rezoned.
Rezone the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
How might that affect people living in that area?
I really don't think it affected them at all. I think it was last month's meeting, Cindy Perez was elaborated on it. It's been used for a banquet facility, class reunions, bingo. Bingo was a lot of traffic in bingo. And of course there was a bar out there. And there would be no longer any of that. The individual's interested in purchasing it, he's purchased it for a business. So I don't think that as far as anything that would affect the people out there, or the neighbors, I guess you'd say, I don't see what would affect them at all.
What type of business? If that,
Well, there again, I'm not really good at telling you for sure, and I'm going to let Martha Mason explain to you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm representing Ling Ha Wong from Shanghai Better Arts and Crafts out of Shanghai. And he has a wood business. Wood as in he makes the product overseas. He will ship a container here and it will be sold really as business to smaller retailers and on the internet. And it's craft sticks, it's little wood shapes, he will not be doing any manufacturing there. All the product will come totally packaged. It's just a pick and pack into a box to ship out to small retailers. He already sells in the United States to major retailers, major chains, major art and craft chains.
You just want to expand?
He's wanting to, yeah. Right now he sells direct import for, I'll just use Michael's Arts and Crafts. That's one of the big, largest arts and crafts chains. And he sells to them direct. They bring in containers. Well, there's a lot of small businesses and internet that they can't bring in containers. So what he's doing is expanding his business into the smaller market. And he's very vested in the United States. He has a son that went to high school up in Fort Wayne, and he is now a freshman at Emory down in Atlanta. He's been coming to the United States for years. So he just is wanting to expand his market into the smaller retailers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking a lot more semi-traffic,
Okay,
right?
sir, if you could come up front and introduce yourself, please, so we can get you into the minutes.
Hi, my name's Jeff Smith, and I'm here, I say, my girlfriend in the back row there, she owns the property that's on the corner straight across from it, and her concerns are a lot more semi-traffic and, the noise from semis coming in at what hours of the night, and I say, there's, she's alone there.
So it's sort of across from the
From the 48
entrance to the
club.
property?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, she's, concerned that, hey, truck drivers coming in at all hours of the night, her there by herself. She has some concerns over that where, she didn't have that, when it was being held for reunions and, that type thing. You didn't have semis coming in at all hours of the night and people that you don't know sitting 100 feet from your house.
I can make a statement. I guess I'd like to say, boy, I wish there was going to be that many semi-trucks. I would be amazed to start out with if he would do 3 container loads a year. So there's virtually no traffic. As far as the future goes,
See, and that's another concern is if you change the zoning to business, how does anybody know that that's the business that's going to be there 3 years from now? She plans on living there the next 40 years, 5 years down the road, now that it's changed to big zoned business, well, now any business can come, and yeah, your business might, it might not affect a whole lot, but a business 3, 5, 8 years down the road.
well, he's planning on being there for at least 30 years. I do know that. That's what his plans are right now. And that's all that's what I can say. And I don't think there's not going to be that much traffic. There's not going to be that much truck traffic because these things come in little boxes and it takes a lot of sales, retail sales, to sell through a whole container. And since he's selling to independents, how we would ship would be by UPS.
Well, like I say, it's just still
And
it's still
I
a
don't
concern,
plan on
because like I
working
say, hey, if once the zoning's changed, then we don't know what business is gonna be there 5, 10 years from now.
Mr. Eldred? I know I spoke with you earlier on the phone.
Yeah.
I know you had some things you wanted to speak about.
I wonder if he'd sign a contract for 30 years, if he's not there, he'll leave it like that for 30 years, that you wouldn't have any type of industry there but his, you know, and you wouldn't have any type coming in, because when you give a general zoning, like business, and any type business, if next year he decides, and he could, let's hope it was 30 years, if he signed it, then we would know it. Next year, you could have, let's say, someone that wanted to work on cars, rebuild cars, put used cars out there, a bunch of them. There wouldn't be a thing wrong with it. It's the type of zoning, if he would agree to that, then I would say, yeah, I wouldn't have any trouble, because I'll be dead and gone. And then, you know, at the end of 30 years, and someone else can worry about it. But with agricultural, when we bought there, and almost everyone I talk with that lives on that road agreed that they liked it like it was because of the type of living that you had. Just think of yourself, if you're in the city, you got a house, you want to put general zoning next to you, and then in 30 years, it's laid quiet, it would be fine, but what if next year someone else came in that was under general business that wasn't like that? It would be a lot of difference, and it wouldn't be like you had. And all of the people, almost everyone that I talk with, having at least families that live right there, and my property, I believe on the north side, borders it. And it was like that when I bought it in '67, and it was the type of neighborhood that we wanted. Now, I'm not opposed to him doing what he's doing, but I think we have many types of warehouses here in town that he could get that done and wouldn't have any trouble at all. But it's there changing the nature of a neighborhood drastically, potentially. And how bad potentially remains to be seen, and I think that's bad. We've seen how that our county has gotten in a lot of trouble like that. One of which just north of that type of thing that can affect the soil, that comes in when just permitting someone to go there, they can do something legally, but I venture to tell you, unless it's checked, you can see what happened up by Toledo by allowing things to happen. What can happen with the type of situation that we have just north of the airport. It can happen. I will say it will, but it can. And we've seen that it has happened like that. So if you don't be prudent and take care of it now, then when the problems come by, we're going to start worrying about, well, I wonder why we didn't see that $15,000, you know. If we'd have been prudent and looking and vigilant in it, we would have got it right the first time. And I say agricultural, you'll satisfy the customers that live there, and you won't have all these problems, and we can get the business with places we've got and very easily can handle that without any trouble. I think that will be almost everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yes, one other thing. When Mr. Hurst sold the land, he sold it for the type of business it was, his agricultural. Now, by changing the nature, it increases property value a lot, but it changes a lot about it.
Well, I guess I should say this, not this month, but last month I had a discussion with Mr. Hurst, and he didn't really say, or wasn't really negative about us selling this and selling to this individual. I had a big long talk with him last month, and he was praising the 48 and said there was good neighbors to him, and he really wasn't negative to me. I can say that.
On 48, amen. But I talked with him, and he said he and his wife did not like the change in zoning. And you can.
He never once indicated that to me. So I did talk to him last month.
Any other questions?
I'm Cindy Perez, I'm representing the 48, and I just wanted to say, you know, the neighbor across the street is already zoned general business, so general business is already in the area. And as we discussed last month, the McDivitt's, you know, they do a pretty good business out there. The Tackle House Warehouse, that's general business, and the full field beside it is general business. They do good business out there. I think there's probably gonna be a lot less traffic than when there was bingo and parties out there. I have 5 trucks a year and a few UPS trucks is a lot less traffic than what you had all the time when it was a club facility. I think this is a good buyer. I think he's gonna bring business to our area. I think he's gonna bring some jobs to our area, which we would all like. I think that if you leave it agricultural, there are it's a very limited amount of people who would buy that building. And so it is likely that you would have an empty building sitting out there. You know, in the comprehensive plan, it said we'd like to utilize existing buildings rather than just keep building new buildings that might be abandoned someday. So I think you'd really need to consider that as well. So, anyway, that's all I have to say. Do you have any questions for me?
Does 48 pay property taxes?
No. That's another big plus.
Yeah, it will be on the tax rolls.
Yeah, we're not a non-for-profit, so we don't pay property taxes. No.
Okay. So it automatically, if it's sold to this fella, would go on the tax roll?
Yes. And he's not asking for any tax abatements. You know, he's just wanting to bring his business here.
Question?
Any further questions?
Yeah, my main concern as at last meeting, I'm concerned about the being in a flood zone. That's my main concern. And I know, Bill, you talked to
Adrian.
Adrian, and you might relay what he is.
He has concerns about in the event of having to react upon if there is a flood. He says they have to, when it comes, for example, sandbagging. Each sandbag requires 3 people being touched 3 times. He said the concern that they also have is every time they require sandbagging, they have to ask for volunteers. They don't have enough actual emergency management direct volunteers to cover those needs. And it was because his concern is that's something that shouldn't necessarily be rezoned. He has concern about then pulls resources from elsewhere. And that's a big problem he's getting around because after all, it was during one of these flood events when the assistant director, Rob Murray, had his accident and died. He had the head injury during an emergency situation. So that's also very cognizant on Adrian's part. So his part is and it's repeated in the first few paragraphs of the floodplain regulations, is the protection of property, but it's also the idea of Adrian is not putting people in the way of potential hazards if you don't really actually have to. And that's some of his big concerns with that, because he has to arrange everything that goes on with that. And I did request, as per you, and then also Mr. Harrell, but that unfortunately Mr. Ellis was unable to be here this evening. So what I think I will do is then, regardless of whatever happens here, is the recommendations made, it still goes before the county commissioners. Right. And what I will do at that time is, I'll at least ask Mr. Ellis to then speak to the county commissioners when it's up for the rezone is in front of them.
Right, okay.
Probably next Tuesday.
Well, if I could say something on it, I said last time, that water's been pretty high, and I've saw it pretty high. Mm-hmm. But that water has never been in the building, never.
Yep.
And also, I guess one of the Plus is that we explained to you last time, our last month's meeting, that how the river flows and the strait behind the building. And you don't have the drop off like you do down where you got the bend down by the houses. I would say, as far as water getting in anything, it would be more apt for getting them houses down there would be the 40 and 8. That's my opinion.
Well, there's a reason that, based on the probabilities of the 1% event every year being flooded, of having this type of flood event, there's a reason everything is done is with the engineering, looking at various runoff, upstream, everything else that happens. And so this is why, you know, the engineers at FEMA, they base it on the actual probability based on the how the water behaves and how they're modeling the water would behave. So that's why it's in the floodplain, which is because it's in the floodplain. This is both state laws and then also federal laws. We need to take them seriously, and that's the reason for my concern about the floodplain. Because should something actually happen,
Yeah, I agree with that, and just like Boston, Massachusetts has never seen the snow that they're seeing this year.
Yeah, I'll never say
So,
never, I guess.
Yeah, you can never say never, yeah.
yeah, because well, for example, I lived there 4.5 years before I came back,
Did you?
and the winters in Boston are milder than here because you just have the moderating effect. Yeah, so you can get the snow, but you get something like this, yeah, storm of a century.
Yeah, yeah.
So like Sandy was.
Yeah, that's true.
Any further questions, discussion?
Could I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
It seems to me now, if I understand right,
Could you come up and tell who you are?
my name's Dan Sizemore. I represent the buyer as his real estate agent.
Okay.
It's my understanding, now, the 48 is going to close. It's done. You've got the building there, and apparently the only other thing that can come in is another bar. Is that correct?
There's a range of other uses. You'd have to look more carefully, but there aren't a lot of range of options. But the job though of the Area Plan Commission is to not respond on an ad hoc basis of every request.
Well, it seems that...
Okay, well, the job of the Area Plan Commission is, the key part in there is plan. Part of their job is to look at, it might seem silly to some people that working at the worst case scenario, but that's the plan, part of the Plan Commission's job.
Okay.
Is because if you don't look at the worst case, something happens like, you know, I could have had a V8.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But
So that, I'm just trying to get people to understand this. These things right here. I mean, this is their job. And,
Okay.
these members take it very seriously.
Well, I know the gentleman there had a concern about the semis, which I understand, but this, I wish, Martha, did you bring any of the packaging? These things are little packages like this. They will bring one semi-load in 2 or 3 times a year.
And like I say, part of, a big concern of ours is,
Future.
is what's gonna happen 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Why do we want to rezone this? Last time I looked, the old Kmart building was open, it's gotta be zoned business. The old Walmart building was empty, it's gotta be zoned business.
Well,
If you have all these places that are zoned business that are empty now,
Now, part of the reason that he likes this place is because of the river. This is not only, this is going to be a very small business. This is something he wants to own as a pride in ownership. He's going to take care of that, and it's a place, in China, they cannot own property. So they want to buy this. He likes the river, he likes the atmosphere. I sold the 10 acres next to it. And so he'll have it's a beautiful, beautiful spot in the summertime especially.
that's why we want to keep it that way.
Well,
When we start putting businesses in there, you can't guarantee it's gonna stay like that.
well,
Thanks for making my point.
well, whatever. If the building is going to go empty, and I've seen what happens to empty buildings over time. So one way or the other, anyhow, I hope you understand what I'm saying. You've got a bar coming in, or you've got a nice business, the guy's gonna take care of it, and eventually, he just wants to own the property. But to me, it makes more sense to have that, and maybe 4 or 5 jobs
as compared to having another bar there with whatever goes on.
Any further discussion from members of the board? Any further comments from members of the public? At this time, I will entertain a motion.
Okay, just a reminder of the options is, of course, there's favorable, unfavorable, and no recommendation. Now, for example, if there's insufficient votes to send either an unfavorable or a favorable recommendation, that's when then someone would then make a motion to then make a no recommendation because insufficient votes one way or another. It would then be forwarded to the county commissioners with a no recommendation. It's a rare circumstance that should be done, but and typically only if you cannot get sufficient number of votes either way.
I make a motion for an unfavorable motion to this.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion for an unfavorable recommendation and a second. Any discussion? Okay, Brenda, would you have roll call, please?
Brian Jennings,
Yes.
unfavorable.
Unfavorable.
Warren Studoff,
Yes.
Mark Flum,
Yes.
Gabe Nobby. Oh, sorry, he's not here, sorry. Leota King.
Yes.
Carl Hilton,
Yes.
Dick O'Neill,
No.
Jason Waterman.
Yes.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, 1 no.
Okay, an unfavorable recommendation will be sent to county commissioners.
And it should be on the agenda for the next county commissioners meeting.
What?
Okay, the rezone amendment goes before the county commissioners at their next meeting. I mean, that is the final step in an amendment process. So the commissioners can either accept the unfavorable recommendation or they can reject it. And that's the end of the process.
This board only recommends.
Strictly recommend body for things like zoning map amendments, rezones, or code, or amendments to the language of the code.
Okay.
Okay,
You wonder why we make the newspaper as Forest County and state.
hearing is closed. Okay, next on our agenda is the director's report. Bill?
Okay, well, I handed that out to everybody in that package there.
I move to accept as presented.
A second.
I do want to commend you guys for a good job. I think you're right.
We have a motion and a second for the acceptance of the annual report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Annual report is accepted.
Monthly report.
Monthly report, I am sorry. And,
Did I not change the language?
No, you didn't.
I did not change the language.
That was my fault.
Oh, no. That's what I get for that copy and paste.
Okay.
Never throw the whole thing, right?
Anything else for members of the board?
Thanks, Mark.
Move to adjourn.
Second motion.
Okay, we have motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. We are adjourned.